How's she going, folks? It's your host, Levi,
And I am John.
and welcome to Oh, for Heaven's Sake.
Today we have a very special guest, Levi. Former Cavalier Tornado High School graduate, North Dakota State College of Science, then Moorhead State College graduate, and now owner of one of our beautiful sponsors, Maximum Performance and Fitness. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Brad Nordstrom.
Thanks, boys. Welcome. I'm happy to be here. Let's get rolling.
Oh, yeah. Alrighty, so me and Levi have both curated a bunch of very good questions. We're gonna go very in depth. At this point, you're gonna think, we're interrogating you, but
This could be FBI style here. Now, we're going to kind of essentially start from the ground up. And first question, right away. What was life like living in a small town growing up?
Well, I really didn't live in town, living out on the farm, and it was awesome. Had all kinds of freedom, worked hard, but if I wanted to go outside and take a pee in the backyard, I could do that because my nearest neighbor was a mile and a half away. I loved it.
alrighty, I just loaded in my questions because they weren't loaded in. But what got you into being a trainer?
That's a good question. I really only knew a couple things coming from a smaller town. It was farming and athletics. There's a little bit of a roundabout way that I got there, but decided to stick with exercise science, and voila, here we are, Maximum Performance and Fitness.
Might as well go into the next question because it kind of fits. What would you say has become your favorite lift?
Oh, that's a good question. I enjoy the bench press. I enjoy pull-ups, squats. Probably those three are my top three.
Already, all of those are good ones. Of course, who doesn't like hitting a little chest?
We almost forgot our very important thing here
Ooh.
is opening drinks.
Oh my
Completely
goodness.
forgot about
We almost
that.
jumped
This
in
is
a little
unacceptable
too
here.
fast.
So
Good,
we're going to
'cause
start
I'm
with
getting
drinks.
thirsty.
What drink do we got today, boys?
Well, I got myself a heavy-duty Fresca soda water. This is a peach citrus.
And me and Levi got ourselves the Dr. Pepper Zero Sugars.
Should we even be saying that? Because, are they sponsors yet?
Oh, true.
I think we should have some tape on them so that nobody else can see what we have until they start putting up some cash.
Yeah, we're actually just having standard cola. That's it. Just having cola.
We're just having a drink. We're having a beverage, actually.
Carbonated lift up, as they say.
So I think we're going to go back a little bit in time.
Whoa.
John jumped the gun.
We're rolling back.
And there's a question, got to ask, because obviously growing up on a farm, how was being a farmer, and how was working with your brothers?
It was a lot of fun at times, and it was quite trying at times. We all are, handle stress a little bit differently, and there was some times where it was kind of like, oh boy. Nobody got into any fist fights or anything, so that was good. A little bit of arguing here and there, but nothing can't be settled. But it was great working on the family farm. I wouldn't trade it for the world, and I miss that opportunity right now. If I could go up and farm, I'd do it once in a while.
Yeah. Speaking of coming back to the farm, I know you mentioned stuff about like you're going back to help out or whatever, like when we lived in the Carver or whatever. How come you don't do that necessarily anymore? Is it just because they have kids now that kind of just help handle the load of farming?
I think mainly is because we enjoy going to the lake so much that I don't really want to take a weekend away from going to the lake, and so we would always be heading to the camper when potentially a person could be going up to the farm and helping, and then in the fall with football, and it makes it harder to get away too. So that's honestly the main reasons. It's fun to go up there, but I enjoy going to the lake and relaxing too after working hard all week.
So we'll get to the lake eventually.
Oh,
Yeah.
Cool.
But I think we'll just kind of let's go to college. We'll go to college level now.
College level.
Do you have any questions for college?
I did. Why did you go to college? Like, what made you decide to head over to the campus life?
Well, that's actually a great question too, because when I'm the youngest of six, and when the time came when I graduated from high school, there was really no room at the farm anymore unless I didn't want to be a farmhand all my life. No neighbors were looking like they were quitting, and so I kind of felt stuck. So my mom and dad pushed me to go to school, and I started out going to WAP Science down at NDSCS in Wapaton. Just I got a scholarship to throw shot and disc and track, and at that time I was interested in architectural drafting. That process lasted 1 week,
You know,
and then I got out of that program
Why is that?
because I couldn't see myself sitting behind a desk all day.
he couldn't see himself drawing doodles of houses.
I enjoyed it because I did have a class in high school where I did some drafting, and I thought it was fun, and I wanted to do the track thing, and that was an opportunity, and ended up finishing with a 2-year degree in just liberal arts, so I didn't have to deal with that when I transferred to Moorhead State. And then that's actually WAP Science is where I met my mentor, John Grogan. He's the one that got me into the weightlifting scene and coached me in the weight room, and I helped him in the training room, and that's how I ended up at Moorhead State. I was going to continue into athletic training, and so I transferred my hours to MSUM and started there, and ended up eventually switching to exercise science.
Okay.
So how was college life? Because it's kind of different from, to say, in a way of how Abby's experiencing or whatever, because you're much farther away, 2 hours away from the farm. So how was it like just living on your own?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the freedom aspect of it. I did have my own room, so I didn't have to deal with a roommate, although my neighbor tormented me all the time. He'd be coming home from, I'm assuming, parties, banging on my door or my window or my walls. He'd call me, "What are you doing?" at 2, 3 in the morning. I'm trying to sleep. Anyway, a number of years later, he ended up becoming one of my better friends, and we're still friends today.
The annoying people back in the day sometimes are the best friends,
And
aren't they?
it's true. It's pretty cool how we ended up hitting it off eventually. And
Who was that?
what's that?
Who was that?
Bill Nelson.
Okay. That's funny.
Now Levi gets it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The Jamestown coach
Yeah.
for the Blue Jays over there.
Yeah, that's where my parents went to high school at, and that good old stuff. So I kind of have another question. You kind of mentioned this too, as well as like, what would you say are some people that kind of helped you along your beginning journey in like college and stuff?
Well,
like
I think that John Grogan would have to be one of the first ones because he was like I said, my mentor at NDSCS, and then jump ahead probably about 6, 7 years, he ends up hiring me to be a grad assistant at NDSU and as a strength coach when I was working on my master's back in 2000. And he was probably the biggest influence in my career. And then the rest of them are, I mean, obviously you always have others, but he's the one that really rings a bell. And then after I graduated my undergrad degree, I'd say Mark Waldera is another one that he gave me my first job out of college. I was doing an internship at then Mericare, which is now Sanford, in their exercise physiology program. And I'll never forget it. It was a Friday afternoon. It was dead quiet. Nobody's around. So I decided to get a bucket of water, and I was cleaning the weightlifting platform. And Mark Waldera, who was my supervisor, walks through and says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm cleaning." He says, "Come up to my office." I'm like, "Oh boy, what did I do?" And he's like, "You know what?" And at that time, I still hadn't graduated. I had another semester. And he's like, "I don't have a full-time job for you right now, but I like your work ethic. I like your attitude. I want to hire you per diem, which is basically as needed. I'll pay you." And I'll never forget that day because at that time I was married already, and my wife had a great job, and to be able to come home and say, "Hey, I got a job," and haven't even graduated yet was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is definitely nice to have. some good footing underneath, you know.
So, still alongside the college thing, do you have any funny stories or experiences at NDSU that you want to share? Just maybe training Ben Woodside, or
That's
any
right.
any players, or just any experiences that are
Well, I was
noteworthy.
there when I started out in 2000, and I was a grad student and got promoted after 9 months to assistant, which was awesome because then I knew I had a full time job again, and so I left a full time job to go back to college, and then ended up getting hired on 9 months later at NDSU as an assistant strength coach, and the kids were awesome. I mean, I can remember one time I was training the softball team and we were doing assisted sprints. So one of the girls had an assisted band while the other girl was back. So you had tension on that band. And I literally just got done saying, "Do not let go of the band." And one of the girls let go. It was her best friend, and smack right in her thigh. That band smoked her. And I'll never forget that. I mean, it was like there was some tears of laughter and then maybe a little bit of tears of hurt, but I've got a lot of great memories with the football team and doing fourth quarter workouts, and um, those were buggers. We actually have some videos I found that I had of that I showed some of the guys that were there at that time, and they made copies, digital copies to give to everybody, and that was pretty fun. And with men's basketball, that was probably one of my main sports, and I was there when Greg McDermott was there, who's the head coach at Creighton right now. He was at NDSU. I worked with him for a year. And I spent 3 years with Tim Miles, who spent some time at Colorado State, Nebraska, and probably the biggest. I mean, there's a number of guys I could go through, but Ben Woodside in that class of what was that, 2009, I believe, would have been their graduating year. His freshman year, I worked the snot out of him in the weight room, and they would go down and practice and beat the crap out of the varsity guys, and they were true freshmen, and Tim Miles knew that he couldn't. He had to redshirt them because 2009 was the very first year that they were eligible for the NCAA tournament, and yeah, I kicked him out of the weight room before too. Started the workout over a few times, and I said, "All right, you guys got to leave. I can't take it." It wasn't quite that smooth, but
Get out of here now.
yeah, with a few other words.
So, just along with training players, and who are like the best players you trained, or like the hardest workers, just in general, any sport,
Are you talking names or just sports in general? Like
just
what sport?
just
Names?
names mainly.
Well, I mean, Ben Woodside has to be number one because he was. I can remember his recruiting visit like it was yesterday. Um, I mean, I have a kid that was 17 years old, and I got his parents, and we're going through the weight room, and I'd never seen a focus like that in anybody. And if you were to talk about an X factor, I'm like, okay, that must be an X factor, because it was pretty awesome. He clung on to everything, and he always worked hard. A phenomenal leader. Um, always made those around him better, and that's what's pretty cool. Probably there's a couple guys that played football that were phenomenal athletes. Lamar Gordon, he played in the NFL for a number of years as a running back, and Chuck Claypool was an offensive lineman that was phenomenal. Rob Hunt. I mean, there was a lot of guys back then that did have chances and to play in the NFL and had the opportunity to work with them, and it was, and then you got to look at some teams. The volleyball team was awesome to work with. Softball, women's basketball. They were just great kids. They all worked hard. It was a lot of fun.
Alrighty. Actually, you did kind of say a little bit, but one of my questions was, what were your 9 to 5 or part-time jobs or full-time that you had kind of throughout the whole step of the way before you got to MPF?
That's interesting. I mean, like I think back, like at WAP Science, I was just in track, so I didn't have a job there. Um, and then when we moved to Fargo, I hauled beets
Oh.
during beet season a couple different times for farmers.
Huh.
I worked for a farmer north of Moorhead for a few years while I was in school doing my undergrad at MSUM, and then when I was and then of course I got the job at AmeriCare, and then that was full time, and then I actually decided to go back to school to do a grad assistant. I mean, grad assistantship in athletics, it should be 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not 20 hours a week in athletics. So it's more than a full-time job when you're getting paid $500 a month. But I got my school paid for, so that was a positive. And then luckily, like I said, after 9 months, got promoted ahead and so forth.
So, Levi, I know you mentioned something about your guys' lake place.
Oh, yeah, we'll go on to that. What are your favorite things to do at the lake, just in general?
You know, if you want me to be brutally honest, it's hanging out with my family. And you want to know why? Is because owning a business is grueling. It makes for a long week, and then we don't really talk a whole lot during the week. Mm-hmm. And I've always enjoyed. I talked to my wife. I said there's been times where it's been a challenge to keep it financially, but it's probably the best thing that we ever did as a family because it kept us together. As far as I'm concerned, everybody would hang out. Now it's on the deck, and we'd visit when I'm cooking or whatever. We'd always be hanging by the fire, and I enjoy that family time. And I look back to, I don't know if you remember much, Levi, but pulling the camper or the pop-up camper, and it was hanging out. And
blowing the transmission.
That's the cool part about it. What's that?
Blowing the transmission?
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah, when the trailer brakes locked up on the one trailer when we were pulling it down Highway 71.
Oh, boy.
That was kind of spooky.
Yeah, what is it? Didn't you guys also have your boat problems too, as well?
We've had quite a few tow-ins with our boat. Had some starter flywheel issues, so we've been towed into the dock a number of times. But thankfully, that boat has gone bye-bye.
No longer with ya.
We got a new one to get you back at the lake here.
Ooh,
you've been down there once or twice, right?
Once. I think I got to come a second time though. Just
heck yeah.
All right, now we're gonna graduate. Unless John.
what a transition! I have to say that was work of art there.
So just Max Performance Fitness. When and why did you decide to start Max Performance Fitness?
Wow. Well, the logo itself and the business name was actually sent to the state in about 2005, and that was I sent it in to get the articles of incorporation and whatnot, so that it was officially a business. And at that time, I had left NDSU in the fall, and I went to MSUM to help start their wellness program, and I actually worked an 8-hour day.
Okay.
And that felt great for about 6 months. And then my batteries recharged. So I started training athletes on the side, and I started doing some personal training at that time at Anytime Fitness, kind of teetering around with it. And then you guys will probably realize this at some point in your life. We came to a little crossroads and decided we wanted to take a chance, and we moved to Minneapolis. And you probably don't remember hardly anything about Minneapolis.
Not a single thing.
And this would have been 2008-ish. And how old would you have been?
1.
Levi was just a teeny little baby.
You wouldn't remember. So we moved to Minneapolis, and I was helping a buddy of mine grow his gym, Jason Ivesdahl, at Higher Power Training in Eden Prairie. And just realized after a short stint, my dad was sick, not doing well, and Fargo was home, and decided to move back to Fargo. And I knew at that time that I was going to stay independent. If you were to back up a number of years and realize I grew up on the farm, I don't do well with people telling me what to do. So I'm very independent. NDSU is totally different, though. I mean, I could have stuck that job out for many, many years. It's very grueling, but it's being a strength coach and running your own business is very similar. And I missed the intensity of athletics, and that's where starting MPF was a way that I could get that back into my life and working for myself. So I actually started outside.
Huh.
I grew up. I built the business in a little studio for a while, and I knew that personal training wasn't going to pay the bills, so I created a program called Melt in June of 2010, which is kind of a hybrid style circuit training, and just evolved it over the number of years to where we are today here at this beautiful facility in West Fargo.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I know Levi actually, I think one time when we were driving around actually showed me the old place where you guys were at. Definitely a little upgrade
Little
there.
bit of a step up.
Just a little bit.
Actually, let's talk about that. Moving into that location back in the day, what were your kind of just your like favorite experiences there, and what do you miss about that
Are
spot?
we talking about like outdoor space or the space
No.
on West Track Drive?
We're talking about the West Track Drive
West Track
spot.
Drive. Well, I think that that one will always hold a special place in my heart, just because it was, that was the first building that I leased. I had a 1,500 square foot studio office in the front where I did personal training, and then after about 6 months, my landlord was like, "Hey, I got a warehouse in the back if you're interested in that." And then we rented another 3,000 square feet in the back, where that's where I started to run our melt program, and our athletic enhancement stuff was all done in the back. I mean, a lot of great memories. I mean, to have family involved. I had one of my nephews, Kyle, working with me for 6 to 9 months, and then my nephew Ryan working with me, and I think that was a lot of fun just to share that with family and have them around, and then just work hard to build it up. I mean, it was a great experience, and just because it's the first one, you always kind of has hold a special place in your heart. And
Yeah, I remember both places really well. For some reason, I remember playing computer. I was playing. It was like with the boxes out in the, what do you call it? The original place where we were outside, because I was hiding inside the tires and all that
for
stuff. I
sure.
remember that. That was pretty
I think
fun
you
back.
also drew underneath my desk in the office in the warehouse.
Yeah, I was gonna make a hole in a little secret spot.
Levi was trying to get his little hidey hole. One of my other questions I had, since we're kind of talking about all the other places, is what are would you say is your diehards? Those people that have kind of stuck with you for the whole time, can be customers or any other people that you've had to experience with and that have kept with you along the whole journey.
Well, and that's what's pretty special, I think, about this place, is that it was built literally from the ground up, and it was built through referrals from clients. So we still have clients that have been with us that were outside doing the workouts. That goes back to 2010, 2011, and they're sticking it out. At that time they were probably in their early to mid 40s, and now they're still coming, and they're in their early to mid 50s already, and still giving it, and it's just awesome to have that. And then we're getting more and more the newer clientele, or the diehards now. It's fun, like speaking of Ben Woodside, he's been coming now for I don't know, 3 years maybe, and doing melt with us, and I tend to jump in and work out with them guys, and as many times as I can. And back then I was kicking his butt, now he's kicking my butt.
Did the old switcheroo on you?
Yes. So we've got, I don't know, I think there's 2 clients now that have been here over 3,000 times, and a number of them over 2,000, and I just bet you we have well over 20 to 25 that have been here over 1,000 times.
We got to update that wall here, the Wall of Fame.
Yeah,
gotta update the Wall of
do
Fame
some
wall.
sliding around.
I mean, I feel like that's my favorite part, the Hall of Fame wall. You just imagine you stick with it, and then you get to see your beautiful plaque up on there.
Exactly.
So, what do you have, just sticking along with kind of just like your customers and stuff, what is your best advice for people trying to lose body fat and just weight in general?
Oh, well, I think the biggest thing is consistency. You got to stick to it. Most people, I think, end up quitting too soon before you get to reap the rewards. They give up, and you know you need to be active every day. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to kill yourself every day for an hour, but you need to be active every day, and then you need to take a look at what you eat. I mean, you exercise 1 hour a day. Well, there's 23 other hours. You got to do something. You got to sleep. So there's, let's say, 8 hours. So now what are we down to? 17 hours. So now you've got. Well,
You're down to 15, but
anyway. So you've got hours. You got to work on the nutrition aspect of it. Drink more water. You might have to cut out some junk food, and could be as simple as maybe just cutting. I mean, everybody's a little different. Some people we got to go hardcore. Some people aren't ready for hardcore, and then they gotta, just taking maybe don't eat 2 servings. Let's eat 1.5, and be consistent doing it.
Yep, consistency is key.
Exactly.
Yeah, kind of one thing that I thought would be kind of fun to tie in with that is, are you a fan of any of the fab diets like keto or any of those other ones? I think they're kind of, but
I'm not. But I'm also like, you got to figure out what works for somebody, because everybody's, like I said, everybody's a little different. I'm not a fad person. I think it just still comes down to working hard and being consistent doing it, and I don't get into the flash of stuff. It's just, you got to go and you got to eat. Ideally, you want to eat as close to nature as possible. Meat, vegetables, some fruit here and there, nuts. If it was growing, a good chance it's going to be healthy for you. If you go in and grab a box of cereal, look on the back, and there's about 17 names on there you can't pronounce, it might not be that healthy for you.
Come on, I love my red 40 diet. Add a little bit of blue 6 in there too for extra flavor.
Yeah.
Well, Levi, I think it's time we talk about our sponsors. I just want to get a quick little overview on one of our latest and greatest, Finley on the Roof. If you have any need to either set up some Christmas lights or do outside, indoor, even trees, he'll do it for you. He'll do it for a good rate, and his projects can vary from small to all the way up to like doing West Acres. So he definitely has a lot of experience in his area, and I know especially gets hard sometimes to put those up, becomes like a whole day thing. Spend time with your family, have Finley do it for you. But Levi, do you want to tell us about our other sponsor?
Well, Mahana Fresh. You want to say the line, or you
Eat fresh, feel fresh, refresh, Mahana Fresh.
So it's a line we actually came up with on our own, but I think
I like it.
I think Cooper Wallow should pay us for that.
But healthy food for a good price. It's essentially a Subway style, like you kind of mentioned in the past. You just kind of go down the line. You just decide, you either have like 2 proteins, 1 protein, get some vegetables in there. You can have even a sauce on the top, and extremely healthy food, and it makes you feel good compared to just McDonald's or Five Guys. Maybe that won't make you feel, you might not feel the greatest
grease
afterwards.
will be getting you. That's one thing about Mahana Fresh. They cook all their stuff right away that morning. So none of it's from like the day before or anything like that. It's cooked the day of, and it's cooked throughout the day too. So it's always fresh for you. But speaking of Mahana Fresh, have you ever had it?
I have had it a couple times. Tasty treat.
Okay.
Actually, very impressed with it.
Mm-hmm. Have you had it before me and Levi went that one time, or?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. So
That
Levi
probably
referral.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. No, me and Levi, I swear, if there's a place that if we really don't know where we want to go, it's gonna be Mahana Fresh.
When in doubt, Mahana Fresh it out.
Alrighty, and then this is the fun one for me is, what would you say would be your number one cheat meal? Say you had a little rough week and you want to reward yourself with something a little extra special. What will it be?
I think it has to be pizza. I love pizza. I mean, pizza and ice cream, my 2 big weaknesses.
He loves the za.
Okay, what's on your ideal pizza? And from where? Or are you cooking it?
Oh.
What's the whole?
That's a good question. I rarely have it, but I really do like rhombus guys. And then,
Okay.
and usually, if I'm gonna get a pizza, it's got to have a number of meats on it, pepperonis, your sausages, and then you can add some veggies in there. You got to have some jalapenos. Um, Shoot, I like it all really. I like a good taco too, but
Oh yeah, there we go.
taco pizzas are good. I'm not a fan of these wacky ones like a Thai chicken, or garlic Parmesan chicken.
See,
It just doesn't
Controversial.
just does not.
Pineapple on pizza.
You know what? It actually isn't bad, but I'm probably not going to order it. But if it's there, I'll probably have a slice.
So I personally, I'd say it. I mean, everything kind of belongs on pizza in a way if you can do it right. I'm not gonna order it, but
Well, it's basically an open face sandwich.
Yes. I mean, yeah, you can fold it.
So in
you
other
know,
words, you can. You're right. You can pretty much put whatever you want on.
but I mean, kind of just with the crazy pizza styles at school. We have the barbecue, we have the buffalo chicken, and they're kind of it's a true.
You have that at school?
Yeah, it's a true
Yeah.
50-50. Sometimes
Oh,
it's great, and
that's
sometimes
impressive.
the
Yeah,
chicken's got an
sometimes
odd
our
taste.
lunch we have random things that I mean, I think this Friday we had dumplings.
Chicken dumplings.
Really?
Yeah, chicken
Were they good?
dumplings. They were
I-
actually not bad. I had them.
Did not have them. There's taco in a bag, which is
Yeah.
common.
He's basic, you know. He probably went with the spicy chicken sandwich.
Either go with like the club sandwich, PB&J is
You
pizza.
guys have that many options?
Oh well, high school there's a ton. It just gets better and better throughout the school years because
We actually, honestly, used to have more than what we have now. Because
it's
now
gotten less.
we have one rotator that rotates through, but otherwise we have the same hamburger, spicy chicken
Oh.
sandwich, or pizza. Those are basically almost always there.
So is the pizza cut in a big square, or is it a
Pizza
triangle?
Used to be. Now it's just triangle. They cut them up. I think they get them catered in from somewhere. I forget. It's not catered,
I
but
doubt
food,
it's
catered.
actually
food service.
It is
catering
actually,
sounds too fancy.
Rhombus guys, I think. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. That'd be
Yeah.
great.
I think is it if I'm correct, it's the Big Daddy's Pizza.
Oh yeah, that's.
I think that's
It's
what
not
the
the
brand
greatest.
is.
It's not the greatest, but yeah, there's just kind of your typical chicken sandwich, burgers, pizza, and then PB&Js and parfaits. They're pretty much every single day.
Yeah.
So you don't have like a day where it just says cook's choice and you have no idea what's on it? Oh, you guys
Nope.
are missing out.
Well, we've
Cook's
That's what
choice.
we had.
You get the extra special spaghetti with some kind of sauce. You don't know what it is.
and there's always at least 3 pieces of hair. It
yeah.
never fails.
You know, you might get a loose tooth in there every now and then.
All right, we gotta get back on track. This is crazy. It's unacceptable. No, I'm kidding. Couple more questions about the business side, and then obviously get the Vikings, which is going to be fun in itself. Yeah. So, what was your greatest challenges so far of owning your own business?
Wow.
It's all easy.
That's a good question. I mean, I think the biggest challenge is it's a mental challenge, number one, because you're going to have so many ups and downs. The one thing I learned is you can't get too high and you can't get too low. I mean, it is a constant roller coaster. You'll gain clients, you'll lose some clients, and it's just a constant challenge. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge is just the mental aspect of it, and keeping an even keel, and anybody that owns a business can understand this is that you best have a good solid support system behind you and have a solid faith, and otherwise you're going to go nuts. But yeah, I would say just a mental roller coaster ride.
Well, yeah. So, too, as well. What made the Dynasty merger happen?
Cole and I had visited for a number of years. We probably started talking at least 2 years before this ended up happening, and I think that everybody that's in a business at some point goes through a kind of a crossroads. What do you want to do? Do you want to keep going? Do you want to partner with somebody? Do you want to close it down, but yet you have some value there. And so it just happened to work out where I think Cole was ready to move on into something different. And so basically decided, all right, well, let's work out a deal, and we've got one of his trainers that helps us and train kids, and some of the athletes that we're training over there, we got them over here, and just kind of keep trying to grow.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Got to keep going up.
This is, I believe, our last business question here. Any funny stories while owning MPF specifically?
Funny?
At the job. Just
Yeah, like if you had someone, absolutely face plant into the ground, have someone that was rowing a little extra too hard and broke the cable.
Well, we've had people fall that I did not laugh about, because it's like that kind of spooks me as far as liability.
Yep.
got the 80 down there just in case.
I think that a couple stories from the old gym that I happened to be in the facility. I wasn't actually training the people. One of my trainers was training them, and he was doing a lunge with a med ball slam, and the guy did a lunge and had his face down and slammed the ball, and the ball smoked him right in the face. Then the trainer
that's a strong
was laughing. I was not.
That was Ryan, right?
Yeah. And then I swear it was like the same day. He had a lady on the treadmill, was probably in her early 60s, didn't realize she was on the treadmill. He had it at 3 miles an hour, which for most people would say, oh, that's not very fast. Well, she was about a 45-degree angle hanging on when he got on it. I thought she was going to, and he was laughing the whole time. He didn't even turn it down.
To her, she was gone Mach 50, okay?
It looked like she was, too.
So on the conversation with Ryan, actually, he was the person with you when you found a dead person on the side of the street, right? Actually,
Wait,
I want to hear the story about that.
Oh, this was Chris.
Oh, Chris.
Chris was with me. So this was, holy smokes. I was a freshman in college, and so he probably would have been younger than you guys. He's probably 16.
Dang.
And we were going to ride snowmobile into Cavalier from the farm to go over to one of my brother's house and play video games. So we went around, instead of driving through town, we went around the backside, which takes us by the nursing home. And I thought it was a lump on the ground. And here we come up, and here there's a guy laying in the ditch. And he was steaming coming off of him. And yeah, he was not alive. He got hit by a car coming from the nursing home.
Dang.
So I let my nephew, I told him to stay here while I went into the nursing home to get help. It was like, I don't know why I told him to stay here. It's not like he was going to get up and go anywhere. He still gives me crap about that. Why'd you tell me to stay?
Stay here. Don't go anywhere.
I ended up having to go into the cop shop and give him my statement. And I don't know, somebody clipped him on the road. His boot was about 100 yards away, too. Thankfully, it was like in one piece. It wasn't like he was mangled or anything.
Oh, yeah, that would be
that was pretty wild.
Life just always throwing those curveballs at you.
I like curveballs. I can usually hit those better than a fastball anyway.
Just hit them with the whah. Alrighty. I actually do have one more question, kind of focused on MPF itself. Is, have you tried it all now that social media is such a popular thing to get more popping on social media? Make a couple Insta posts, get some TikTok likes.
I tried TikTok for 5 minutes and I deleted it. I need to have somebody do it for me. How about you kids take over? Abby does my regular posts, but I need somebody to do some fun stuff in here for me.
Levi, the social media
do
manager.
That. Well, I probably could figure it out. I got too many other things to do.
Yep.
I believe you have more questions than me, so we'll let you rattle some off.
Oh, you're going to let me hit them with a couple. Pow, pow, pow. Alrighty. So now these are going to be some more kind of fun questions, just to,
Good, it was getting too serious for a minute.
Yeah. Alrighty. One of my first ones is, what is your favorite way to, spend your free time? you're just chilling, what would you say is your favorite pastimes? Is it a little putt-putt or...
Putt?
I don't know. Maybe you enjoy a little putt-putt.
Just, hitting the range
Yeah,
or
hit the range.
maybe you launch one into the water or something like that.
I suppose it depends what time of the year it is. I like to get outside and do some stuff. I like to cook a lot. I mean, I like to grill,
Yeah,
whether it's on the
you're the Blackstone
Blackstone
commander.
or smoking meats. I mean, that's to be honest, that's probably one of my favorite pastimes is cooking, doing stuff on the grilling and smoking and that.
Next one is, because I've always wondered this one myself, is how did your old Chevy pickup come along, and did you restore it or?
I've been working on it now for cripes. I think I brought it home 11 years ago. And right away I did a lot of stuff to it, and I haven't touched it in a couple years, but I just enjoy driving it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I got it back though. It's in the garage.
Yep. I saw it when it came back. Would you say then, are you more into newer vehicles or classics?
No, I like the classics. I mean, if I had an unlimited budget, I would take and get classics, and I would modernize the drivetrains on them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I love the body styles, like even my pickup. I think someday, if I ever get to that point, I mean, I'd love to take and put an LS motor in it.
Heck yeah, LS swap it.
And you'd have to do the whole new tranny and new brakes and everything, but then you could take it out on the road. It looks cool, and it would just purr and run smooth on the road. I mean, it does now, but
Squeal the tires a little bit.
it just...
Yeah, no, put an LS7 in there with a 6-speed manual.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't thinking of LS. Oh, I think it'd be awesome, but someday, maybe. But yeah, I love all the classic cars. I think they're cool. I just love the body styles.
Yeah, I like the restoration. Actually, I'd say one of my favorite older pickups, not super old or anything like that, would be the 1990s, kind of that era of GM pickups.
Yeah, that's pretty old. What's funny? If it's early 90s, it probably the body style doesn't change much from what I have. Because I think that the one I have changed in 1973, and it went, I don't know, 87 or even further along. That body style stayed the same. That square body.
Yeah, the square body Chevys are beautiful. Alrighty. Well, Levi, I think it's time that we get into some little NFL talk.
Sports talk. All right. Got a couple questions here. What is your overall thoughts on the Whoa, bring the Vikings hat as well.
He's ready. He's locking in.
Skull.
Skull.
So what's your thoughts on the NFL draft in general for the Vikings? With getting the quarterback, get the edge rusher, kicker.
I think it was great. I mean, I like the aggressiveness. I mean, if you got a guy, well, first of all, thankfully the Falcons screwed the pooch at number 8, and that helped the Vikings because that gets you in position where now you've got eventually and at some point during the year a starting quarterback, and who knows, could be right away, and you have yourself a starting edge DN guy that could just tear it up in one round, and you didn't have to give up next year's first. I'll take it.
Yeah, the one thing I hate the most about people grading the draft classes, first of all, it's a little early to give grades on draft classes because you don't know how they're going to pan out. But Mel Kiper gave a C plus, and for the Vikings, saying that we kind of gave up too much for both of the trades. In a way, you can see that. However, people were saying we need to trade 3 first-rounders to get just JJ McCarthy, and it's like we traded a couple mid-round picks for that, and then also Dallas Turner, the same thing essentially. However, that was more so 2 second-round picks. But it's like, I don't really think you're giving up too much considering most people had us only getting 1 player with maybe 2, maybe 3 first-round picks because of the JJ McCarthy trade rumors.
I just think that you got to take a shot on these guys. You can't just sit and lay in the weeds and hope and pray. And so, I mean, it's either going to work out or it's not. That's just how it is. So you're either going to have a job in a couple of years or you're going to get fired. These
Yeah.
guys make enough money. We can't control it. So
Yeah, these guys definitely do make enough money.
If they're that confident in those players to trade up and risk their jobs,
go
I think you
get 'em.
just trust the process.
Got to chase that bag, you know. And kind of one thing that my question is obviously, I bet you've been watching for a long time, and out of all this time, who would you say is your favorite NFL player that you've gotten to know? Like, you could be like, yeah, that's my favorite guy.
well, I can promise you it's not my jersey. This is a T-Jack jersey. And I would be willing to bet hardly any of your listeners out there know who T-Jack is. Do some research. But this
Javaris
was a Christmas
Jackson.
present, and I still have it. You know, I don't know. It's a good question. I think that, like a Johnny Randall, a defensive tackle, was awesome. And he was just a grinder. He worked hard and you could tell he loved the sport. Any of these guys that you can tell just have a love for the game and having fun and just kicking butt. I mean, that's cool. And they're not prima donnas. That just bugs me when people, I'm going to hold out for this. I'm going to hold out for this. Go play the dang sport you love to play. You're getting paid big money. But Johnny Randall, Adrian Peterson was phenomenal to watch. I went to quite a few Vikings games when we were living down there and got to see. Probably my biggest memory is when Mason Crosby missed the 52-yarder and the Vikings beat the Packers one game. That was a lot of fun. I was there for the playoff game against the Cowboys. Got written up, got a yellow card in that game. I was cheering loudly for our team. That was fun.
Got a little rowdy.
I just like to see guys work hard and have fun doing it. Brett Favre loved the game. You could tell.
So, you weren't necessarily the biggest fan of Tony Romo at the time when you got the flag.
Well,
the card.
I don't know what just something got into me. It might have been a little bit too much liquid courage. But I had a lot to say to Tony Romo, even though he was playing that game and he was on the sidelines and he still sucked. And when he was out there in the field, Tony Romo sucked. And I guess the ushers didn't like that, and they gave me a yellow card, to which my oldest brother still has today.
So, speaking of Tony Romo, do you like listening to him in the booth?
I don't mind him. I don't think he's bad. I think sometimes he talks too much. But I think it's cool when some of these old players come in and they can break down the play a little bit. Some of them get a little too cocky and they try to call every play.
Yeah, I don't
think we need to do that. Just educate us.
So. I think Greg Olson's the best one. However, now Tom Brady's going to be there, so he could be better, but he's on the same broadcast. So Greg Olson's downgraded to the behind Tom Brady now, I believe. So he's not going to be on the main stage anymore. But yeah,
I kind of enjoy shutting it off and listening to the Manning cast when they watch them because they kind of screw around a little bit. I don't need to know everything going on. But
all right, the new kickoff rule change. What are your thoughts on that? Just in a way, saving the play, essentially, a special teams play.
Well, if it equates to actually returning kicks now, I'm fine with it because it's like we don't see any kick returns anyway.
I believe, if I remember correctly, if it goes through the end zone, it's essentially penalizing you because you start at the 30 or 35-yard line now. So you're kind of forced to kick it to them. And I think it's going to be huge for teams with good special teams players or like return men. I think it's going to be fun to see if maybe we see more popular players go back there because maybe it's not as much of an injury risk. So maybe not necessarily Tyreek Hill, but Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane, kind of like your faster running backs potentially be, returning kicks. And King Kene Nwangwu for the Vikings would be see what he can do back there this year. And I'm assuming he'll make the team. But I think it's very important because it makes it more fun to watch, and it also probably just saves the play in general because maybe they completely get rid of it eventually if they don't try this.
The way they were on the track of getting rid of it, that's for sure, because there was hardly any returns.
Alrighty, we're going to roll into my last question, and it is, if you were to eliminate one sport off the face of this earth, what would you get rid of? Just
wow.
Say bye.
Holy. That's a good question. I'd never even thought of that. I mean, does it have to be something like
I would
a
say
mainstream sport?
Mainstream.
I mean, I can't just say cricket.
Yeah, I wouldn't say
because
cricket.
I don't know anything about it.
No, I'd say all the ones that have the big national leagues here.
Oofta.
So,
well, for sure not football.
Gotta keep football.
One sport that I really don't watch that kind of drives me nuts because I think it's full of a bunch of prima donnas is NBA.
Okay.
NHL, you got your hard nose.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're way to work hard. Baseball,
America's pastime.
Tradition. I mean, it's a tradition. It's hard to get rid of that. I think there's a big difference between college basketball and NBA. College basketball, I think, is a lot way more fun to watch than NBA. So I would say if you're going to make me say one of those sports, I'd say NBA if I can't say professional bowling or something.
Professional bowling.
I will say, I think the NBA is actually getting better, funny enough, because from what I'm seeing on maybe the TikTok,
Ooh,
I see that the scoring averages, I believe, are down this year, and I think defense is just more important. They're not calling maybe as much fouls, but obviously it's in a way fun to watch the Timberwolves just because they're playing so much better.
That's fun to see the local team do it.
They got the 3-0 advantage over the Suns right now, so that's kind of cool to see. But I think it's time to dive into our segments.
Dive into our ending segments. Oh boy, here we go. I know what? I want to start us off with the Ofer subsidized snack of the week. And it is going to be everyone's favorite, cheese curds.
Interesting.
Cheese curds?
Not a huge... Well, actually, I enjoy cheese curds. However, it's not something you necessarily think of, your typical, you just subconsciously say fries when you ask for, when they ask for your side. So cheese curds, I think, are underrated, in my opinion.
Wow, I think you're upsetting the cheeseheads. Because, those Wisconsin people really do love their Culvers and their cheese curds.
I'm telling you, underrated cheese curds. I'm not dissing them.
Alrighty.
It's we'll go into my segment here. Today in history. It's going to be definitely interesting.
He's going to teach us some history, folks.
April 30th. Fun fact, I prepped for April 29th accidentally, so I had to do this twice. So now I'm just got even more knowledge. That was kind of useless. But April 30th, 1789, we're going way back in time. George Washington took the oath of office to become the first president of the United States.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my.
Definitely a cool thought. Another fun fact, listening to my podcast while I was, I'm not going to exactly say the business I work at. Not a sponsor yet, so
we better get him to be a sponsor.
Yeah, we better get him to be a sponsor.
So I was doing the coolers in the AirPods, and I actually found out something I didn't know. George Washington was actually a redhead. Everybody just remembers him for that, white powdered wig.
No, I think everyone remembers him for those beautiful wooden teeth he had.
That's another thing. Kind of a little bit of a sciencey one. J.J. Thomson, April 30th, 1897, announces the discovery of electrons. I thought that was kind of a fun one.
Spin me right round.
So, electrons playing a central role.
I'll be darned.
So, definitely interesting. April 30th, 1803, U.S. and France agree on the Louisiana Purchase.
I think if there's a top 10 steal in history, that right there is the top 10 steal in history. No debate. We took that for so cheap.
We got a lot of land from that.
Yeah, how much was that?
I think it was like $14 million for all that land, if I'm correct.
Yeah, tons of acres of land along the Rio
Think of how many
Grande.
states that
15 million. I was very close.
It's not necessarily a whole state, but you got New Mexico, a little bit of Texas, just kind of roughly.
No, man, that's what I was wondering. How many states are involved in the whole Louisiana Purchase? Current states
So
now.
basically it's most of the Midwest. So
Right.
you can think of like North Dakota, South Dakota, a little bit of Minnesota was involved with it, Louisiana obviously, and then the boot. So you have Oklahoma and all those other ones, Kansas, Nebraska. You get like a little bit of Montana too as well in that. But to kind of put it in perspective, 4 cents per acre is how much they bought it for. France is probably just, punching the air right now after that one.
Wow. We got the farmers drooling over here. That's
know.
that's something.
Alrighty. We are going to go in with the quote of the week. And, last week's quote was beautiful. I think it was very well emphasized. But this one I decided, switch it up a little bit. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. And that's from Walt Disney.
I'll be darned. I like that.
Quote
Yeah,
of the week.
That's a good quote. Good hustle quote.
Especially
right
with the business owner on here.
Exactly.
It's fitting.
That's cool.
So my last segment here, celebrity birthdays.
there.
I always think this is fun because maybe it starts a little bit of conversation. Travis Scott,
Oh,
Oh.
Astro World.
rap, the rapper.
Who? I've never heard of him.
Tony Pollard, the actually now Commanders running back.
Average.
Oh wait, no, not Commanders. He's on the Titans. And those are the kind of the two main ones I noticed. But I just want to announce a little fun fact because you know how I originally did the April 29th stuff, and then I switched to April 30th. Little fun fact because I happened to see this name twice, and I was like, "Why?"
This
he
ain't
doesn't
adding up
have
here.
there's-
This ain't adding
this
up here.
person doesn't have two birthdays back to back days. Willie Nelson. His birthday was listed as April 30th on his birth certificate. However, he was born a few minutes before midnight on April 29th. And I thought that was a little fun fact of the day because I just happened to notice it. So,
So, Levi, we just need you to make mistakes more often.
all right. Well, that was the episode.
Sadly, folks, we have reached the end. It was a blast having you on. I think you gave some great insight, for any of those future entrepreneurs out there, And
Thanks
then,
for having me, boys.
anytime. Well, this has been another Oh For Heaven's Sake podcast with
My dad.
and Levi.
Yeah.
But we will see you in the next one. Say it with me now.
Keep her between the ditches.